Dating while being transgender is one of the more difficult and messy things that I've had to deal with in my life. And I believe it's an experience that a lot of trans people out there share because when you embrace your new identity, there can be a lot of bumps in the road on the path to a solid love life. Not just on the outside, with people potentially being mean or dating options being limited, but also a bunch of internal stuff is in the way. All of a sudden, everything is different. Your perspective is different, and especially if you're someone who started hormone therapy, then everything feels incredibly different. Like, you kind of might have thought that you finally had yourself figured out when you learned the whole trans stuff, but yeah, no. Being trans basically just opens the floodgates to personal changes, and you might actually be a completely different person than you thought you were. Or at least that's my experience. G'day peeps, my name is Scribbs. I mostly do video game stuff on this channel, but due to the fact that I kind of have no videos planned in the near future, and I also kind of need to draw some neat little doodle ideas to gift my girlfriend for her birthday, then I've decided to everyone's dismay that today we're doing a drawing video talking about my love life, or more specifically, the trans aspect, which I hope more of you guys might be able to relate to. But basically, back in the old times, way before I came out of the closet and had fully realized I was a transgender woman, I was about 99% sure I was in some way, somehow, a gay guy. Which sounds kind of stupid when I say it now, but it really is the kind of crazy mind gymnastics that only the most desperate brains in the deepest pits of denial can cook up, so yeah, it checks out. You're not gay, Scribbs, you're tran. But regardless, then I didn't know better at the time. Simple as that. And as a result, I began to slowly dip my toe into gay online dating, which unfortunately, at least following my experience, was a cesspool. And I mean, it is absolutely in every way my own fault as well, because I just went by the only gay dating site that I'd ever heard of as a teenager, which was Grindr and Tinder. Don't use Grindr and Tinder, kids. It was bad. Yeah, it was some rough years, and I never even really ended up dating anyone because the whole concept at that point kind of spooked me. But eventually I did come around. I climbed out of my denial pit, and after a long while, I actually started accepting that I was trans. Not a gay guy, not a feminine boy, even though there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I was just a trans woman. Even if I still had a few hoops to jump through, such as this next problem, which might be considered weird, but that I hope some people might still be able to relate to anyway. I'm a little unsure, but basically I embarrassingly have to admit that for a while, after first accepting myself, then I refused to even ponder the idea of dating women. Not because I was straight, but just because I really wanted to be. I obsessively wanted to be in a relationship with a guy because of some intensely silly internalized feelings that I had to be in some sort of straight relationship to justify or to prove to myself and others that I was a woman. It took me a while to understand, but eventually it sank in after about half a year or so that identity and sexuality are just two different things, and that no matter if you're dating a woman as a trans woman or a man as a trans man, then it doesn't make you any less of the gender identity that brings you the most happiness. And to be honest, after figuring out that whole situation and accepting that I was going to be more open-minded to the idea of dating women, then it wasn't that hard because I was actually always attracted to women, but I had just gotten really used to suppressing it after a few years. Not exactly my proudest revelation. But after about another year, which is shortly after I actually came out to my family as transgender, then I got into my very first unofficial relationship with a woman, which even if it wasn't an official relationship, was still a big first for me, because it was one of the very first times that I truly felt I cared about someone in a romantic way. And it was also the first time I'd even had a proper crush as a girl, which was weird to me. But her name was Bethany, because I couldn't think of any better fake name at all. But yeah, she was great. We had fun, we flirted a bunch, and it did feel like we were actually really good at communicating with each other, which was a huge plus, and it gave me a lot of reason to feel very optimistic about the future. After a good while, though, it just started to go downhill very quickly when I learned that while Bethany was in love with me, then she'd hid it that she didn't actually feel remotely physically attracted to me. Eventually, she gave me an explanation after a long time that made me feel a lot better, where she basically said that since then she'd come out as asexual, which of course makes a huge world of a difference, and I don't hold the fact that we split against her at all, because it's not her fault that she just didn't realize she was asexual. But at the time where we stopped talking to each other initially, then I didn't exactly take it very well. Because I really, in my heart, felt like I was rejected because of my physical appearance and because of my body, which just hurts. It just hurts really bad, I think, for just about anyone to hear. But even more so for someone who experiences gender dysphoria. Someone who is already so uncomfortable and unhappy in their own skin and are just already so hyper aware of their own flaws. It just sucked. And it absolutely tore me up for many, many months. I felt absolutely terrible about myself. This whole dream of being like appreciated or embraced or loved by someone felt so far away, like it was almost impossible for someone like me to reach just because I so happened to be trans. And unfortunately, I think this is an experience I share with a lot of people because I've seen a bunch of subreddits and trans spaces online where it's almost like this inside joke how dating as a trans person is ridiculously hard because the limitations are just like too much. And I don't know. It just irks me the wrong way, and it feels like it's really dangerous to like perpetuate that mindset and to let it leech off of your self-esteem like that, especially because it's not objectively true. Just because you so happen to be trans doesn't mean you won't get a partner. As long as you don't isolate yourself and you're open to the idea of trying, then in time you will find someone. And who knows, it might actually surprise you and be sooner rather than later. And even if there are a bunch of negatives, such as encountering TERFs or freaking chasers, then I'd actually say that there are some considerable hidden bonuses to dating as a trans person, such as being able to avoid more of the bad eggs that there are out there. Say if someone is like homophobic or transphobic or sexist, then they aren't usually as likely or willing to date or swipe right on a transgender person in the first place. However, if you're a cisgender woman, that could be a nasty personality trait someone could keep hidden from you for more than a few dates. And it's actually also almost a bonus the other way around, because this means that the people that are willing to date you as trans usually at least have that small level, that's good enough level of open-mindedness that they're willing to be okay with your transness. And I know this is really all just bandaging on the issue and trying to find the positive in possibly being rejected more while dating. Because I honestly know, dating while being trans is certainly more difficult, I think. But all I want to do is just try to work against this very unhealthy idea that also plagued me for a long time, that dating while being trans isn't possible, because it totally is. Right now, I'm with my girlfriend, who I really care for. She makes me very happy, and she helped disprove all those thoughts I had, those late nights by myself. She showed me that I too can be desirable and that I can also feel loved. And that it's simply about waiting for that special person to come along who can just make you feel that very special way. And to me, that's just a very universal thing for trans and cis people. Except for you Aero people out there. The universe simply decided you guys are too cool for that shit.